Hey guys, welcome back. This is stormfrenzy and welcome to my Minecraft world, which I call Tiveden. This is episode 150 in my build and play series, which is basically a let's play series, and it's going to be a world tour episode. So if you're new to the channel or perhaps new to the series, this is going to be a great opportunity to get caught up on things. But I will also be showing off some newer builds that I've never shown in a video before, so if you've been following the series for a while, there'll be something in it for you as well. So get your stacks ready, get comfortable, it's going to be a longer episode. First of all, some basics. This world is very old. I created this back in Minecraft 1.3 of what is known as the Java edition of the game now. And it's a survival world, it's a random seed, and I play in hard difficulty. So I try and maintain my world. I don't want to let my world just go and look like it's from the old vintage times. I try to update things as the game evolves. So I incorporate new blocks, new redstone mechanics, etc. Trying to keep the world relevant. It's a bit of a challenge, trying to make things look like it's not so obsolete. So all this ocean, for example, none of this has the aquatic updates. But I've put in some little reeds and whatnot around these river systems, trying to make it look like it's not so out of place. And as we cruise around the world, you'll hopefully not really notice that it's very old. Yeah, so that's part of the challenge. This area here, this is kind of like my residential area of the main island. This whole area itself is what I refer to as the island or the main island. We'd take a quick look at this map, this red dot here, or red dot, it's a green dot. This represents where we're standing right now, and these three homes, these are the ones that we just looked at. These areas here, these are kind of like the older buildings that I've built around this world. They've certainly gone through many revisions over the years. I've tried to keep them up to date, evolve them a little bit. And yeah, this whole area here is kind of what I try and maintain as my home base, but I do have many outposts scattered throughout my world, so we'll go and visit those in this episode. And yeah, this actually was never a full island to begin with. I actually created this river here. This is made by me with TNT and a lot of digging as of the very first episode in the series. So I still have that on my channel. It's a very cringy episode. The first few were very raw. It's my first time really posting in-person kind of videos. So if you really want to see what I was like many years ago, you can go back and laugh at those. But otherwise, just start from here and work your way forward. Hopefully these episodes will be far more entertaining. And yeah, so I basically made this into an island just by creating this river through here. And the world itself wasn't created in that very first episode. I had already been playing in this world for a little while prior to starting the Build and Play series. So it is slightly a pre-established world, but a lot has evolved since then. So that doesn't really matter now. We are moving along. We are now at 150 episodes, so quite a lot under our belt, and hopefully many new episodes to come. So let's jump straight into things though. There's a lot to get through. So these three areas I talked about, these are residential kind of buildings. Each of them have the same kind of mechanics on the inside. I won't go into all three, but I'll show you what it looks like. Pretty much, we've got an angry visitor here somewhere, what it sounds like, or what does it look like rather, on the interiors. I've pretty much tried to keep an enchantment setup in each building, some kind of kitchen area and a dining setup. This one has an underground section with, looks like an angry, someone who's just doing maybe some praying over there at the moment. But yeah, this is where we're growing some mushrooms, so it is darker in here, and that's why we've probably got some mobs spawning in here. But we can close that up, keep that guy nice and safe down there. It does have an upstairs for a bedroom area. So let's cruise up here. Really like the renovations I've made to this building. If you've been following the channel, you might notice that a lot of this looks quite different over the years. I just keep evolving. I'll keep adding little things, little details. So all these trapdoors are new. I should also point out that I'm using the newer textures that we're getting with the next major update for the game. So you're getting a bit of a preview of what those look like in this world if you haven't seen these textures before. But yeah, little details like this, trying to keep this building up to date and modern. And these ones have gone through slightly different revisions over the years, but you can see the same kind of theme: kitchen, dining area, and a bedroom up there. So I'm not going to go through all of them. That's what it looks like. But I will take you down to this area. This is something that I've been working on in the more recent episodes. It's kind of like a dock area. You're going... Oh, I thought that was strange. The mule is spitting at me or something, but yes, it was just an angry skeleton. I should point out that my world is not mob-proof. You might notice I don't have a whole lot of torches scattered around. I try and do a whole lot of concealed lighting. but in doing so, not everywhere is mob proof. So yeah, I definitely can get mobs that spawn around the island. It's probably not as bad as you might think, but yeah, you got to have your wits about you when you cruise around. But anyway, as to the docks area, this area is kind of like a more recent project. Got a couple of these merchant ships, or like little cargo ships that come down here and hang out, offload or load up some gear. And we've got this cart here ready to go. It's full of pumpkins and melons. And then the idea is this is kind of like a living kind of dock. It's where you come in and bring in your produce or bring in your supplies that supply the whole island here. There are some larger dock areas with larger ships that are built, but this is kind of like a nice little place where a lot of business is going on. This is like the behind the scenes industrious side of, I think, of the island. Most of my buildings do have interiors, although this one doesn't have one. This one has just got some storage in it at the moment, but I will be completing an interior for that. I've got these little pens out here with some fish in them, just for mainly decoration. Whoops. Got these little barrels out the front here, which will probably be replaced with real barrels when they're added to the game. This one, yeah, this does have an interior to the side, kind of like looks very formal, I think, in here. It's kind of like this is definitely a place of business. And so does this one here. So we can cruise upstairs. This has just got like a little transition floor. And then up above here is where you do your hard deals. This is where maybe you're running your sailing business or cargo business. This is where you do all the deals. So these are really just businesses. They certainly don't have bedrooms or anything like that. And off to the side here, if you want some decent fish, look at this. Nice and fresh. And bargain prices. 3 iron ingots for a tropical fish. You can't do wrong with those kind of prices. So come down, buy them. I'm sure they'll be loving to get those sales. This area, this is kind of like where I have coral. So now that we've got coral in the game, I've tried to dedicate a business here to perhaps that's growing and supplying coral to different areas. So that's kind of what this building represents. And there is a little shop out the front here selling some nice coral. Right next door is a little flower shop, little details, and we've got these pens out here. And then this building here is pretty much just got fish supplies in here. So this is where you can maybe run your business that's supplying all the fish to the area. Maybe it's like little fisheries in here or something like that. And then up here, this is just a little detail that I like, where I've got these drying fish racks. So if you want to dry out your fish, this is going to be a nice area for that. Have to be careful of phantoms. I don't think I have slept for a while. I do have a backup of this world, so if things do go bad, it's not to worry. I can just restore a backup, like this guy. And let's keep going. So we've got this little merchant ship here off to the side as well. And I will just point out, this is a little detail that I like to do for the anchor design. Don't know how anyone else does their anchors, but this is what I do. I think it looks pretty good. And over here, this is a new addition to the world where I've just got this kind of like a transition dock. Maybe you could do some boat repairs or start some assembly. Just little details to fill out this part of the island here. So I'm pretty happy with the way this dock area is coming together. I probably will put a little path up through here or close it off one way or another. I want to try and make this area look a little bit more complete than where it is right now. So a few more things to be done about that. You might notice there is no real lighting. So we do have some hidden lighting, like little details like this you won't see if you're not paying attention. But this is how I hide and conceal a lot of the light sources around these kind of dock areas. Okay, so we do have phantoms, so I'm going to deal with these and then we'll continue with the world tour. So I've slept through the night, so we should be all good for phantoms for the time being, so let's carry on. We did walk past this building at the start of the episode, and I like to theme some buildings over a certain purpose, and this one is just really around drying out some kelp, so I can craft up some dried kelp blocks. I've got a few stored out the front here. The idea is that I'll have these a little bit closer to the dock area for loading them up and sending them on their way, but I also like the colour contrast between these blocks and the leaf kind of style that I have on the side of my paths, and then mixing in the different kind of mossy blocks scattered throughout these paths. So this is kind of like a style I've tried to maintain throughout the island. It has evolved a little bit over the years, but having a little bit of consistency with pathways I think goes a long way to filling out and making an area look quite nice overall. But moving along, so we've got this building over here. So this is kind of like a place of worship. Now there's no obvious way to get in, there's no pressure plate, no button, so you might be wondering how on earth do you get into this place. You have to be a little bit of a sharpshooter. So if you've been following the channel for a while, you know there is a Well, that was a terrible shot though. There is a tripwire hook up in that gap up there, and if you can hit the right spot, that'll let you in, and then you can, I guess, pray your sins away. I will probably replace this enchantment table with the lectern when that's added to the game, but this is kind of like a nice setup, I think, and it's quite an old build. I've had it around for a while. If you're feeling adventurous and you download the world, maybe you want to go for a bit of an exploration down there. I'm not going to go down there. But you might notice a whole lot of things if you download my world. I will be putting the download link in the video description, so check that out if you want to. You might find some interesting things along the way, because I won't have time to go through each and every building and each and every area in this tour. It's just going to take far too long, and I've already had a couple of goes at recording this, and the episode went on far too long. I will just highlight this area. This is kind of a bit of a history behind it. This is back when you used to have to try and craft or get yourself some cooked meat the old-fashioned way. Let's see if this still works. Hopefully we don't burn down the barn. No, we're all good. So we collect some items that way, and yeah, this is all based on using lava to burn off some of these poor victims here. And because we never used to have fire aspect and all those little enchants on our weapons, we used to have to do it this way. Yeah, and that's how I used to get my cooked meat. So little details like that kept it around in my world, even though I never use it again. And let's face it, there's a high risk that one day I'm just going to burn down the barn by using raw lava just flowing out like that. But yeah, this is kind of like my place where I get a lot of my cooked meat. And the mushrooms have... Oops, sorry buddy. These mushrooms came from a mushroom island, which is all the way out west. We will be heading out that way in this world tour. And the sheep in here, I can't really explain how they got in here. They just, over the years, have wandered in here. And sometimes they get bred up, but I've never actually brought sheep into here intentionally. It's just quite interesting that over the years they've managed to just find a home here and just hang out with the cows. So pretty interesting with that. So let's keep on cruising. Come back around this way. There is a building over here that we'll point out. So this is what I call a blacksmith building. This has certainly gone through a few revisions. This is where we've settled at the moment. There's an interior, and this is kind of like more transition area. This is the idea, and the theme behind this is where we would craft up some weapons or maybe some armor, got them in the cauldrons to dry them out or heat them up, whatever we're doing at the time. And little details like this I like. And we do have a lower section, and this is an area that I visit a lot. So this is one of my main storage areas. We've got a whole lot of goodies in these chests, and yeah, this is a place that I will frequent quite regularly. And then off to the side, this is an area that I use quite a lot. This is where if I die in my world and I need to get geared up pretty quickly, I can come down here, stand right on top of this trapdoor, press this button, and it'll lower me down into this area underneath. And it'll actually gear me up. It'll give me all the supplies that I need to hopefully take on whatever killed me, and then I can recover my items. So I do use this, and I have used this a few times throughout the Build and Play series, so nice and useful. And this is one of the main portals that takes us to the main Nether hub that I have in my world. And I do have like little details like this where I can change the look of it and basically open and close these using very simple redstone. And yeah, little details that probably never that noticeable at first glance. I do have some auto smelters in here, so throw any items in here and they'll come into this chest automatically. I don't have super smelters or anything like that, huge redstone contraptions for cooking up a whole bunch of stuff. I might change that out when the new blocks get added, new functional blocks get added to the game, but we'll have to wait and see for that. And upstairs, this is kind of like one of my original enchantment setups, so I do have a whole lot of... Ooh. Ah, that's interesting. So you might notice that I'll have a lot of my tools and armor unnamed, and every now and then I'll forget where I've put something. So when I forget, I just leave it, obviously in a chest or something like that, and then it's pretty cool to come across and stumble. Oh yeah, there you go. That's where I put that that pick a long time ago. Needs some mending on it, looks like. And yeah, so there's many enchantment books that I have in here. Let's face it, if you've played the game for quite a while, it's pretty rare that you die and lose your items, so I haven't really had to do a whole lot of enchanting over the years, or not more recently, so a lot of the things that are in here are very old. So if you've got an old world, you would probably remember this kind of setup where you've got many picks that have been worn all the way down, but never had mending back in the day, so sometimes you just collect them like that and show the progress of your world. So I do have those. I do have a little storage room up in here, and I created this floating block of water up in here while we still had that in the game. I still think you can create floating blocks of water in vanilla survival, but it's a lot harder these days. But yeah, there's a little storage section up there. You can just fly up there using your elytra. And that's pretty much what this enchantment kind of area looks like. I do need to build a building for storing all my music discs. So I've been a bit lazy, I've just put them in there and left them there. But this takes us over into a new section of the island. This is where we kind of head into different themes. So over here is basically all based around a hobby farm. So this has also gone through many revisions. This house here is kind of like a little farmer's shack. There's not really many things in here, mainly for storage. We do have a sneaky way to go down to a new section underneath. But around this building is a whole lot of little stalls and little farms. So what I'll do is I'll jump to a clip and I'll show you how all the farms work, and then we'll talk about some of the farm mechanics. So that was a very quick overview of all these farms in action. You'll notice that we use a small amount of redstone to make our life a little bit easier, mostly just using dispensers to dispense water, push all the items to a collection point, or move some blocks around. So for example, these 4 areas, these are all exactly the same. We've just got different farming produce in here, and we just activate it with a button. All the redstone is hidden underneath, so making it look nice and flush, looks pretty much natural. And yeah, it's a nice simple way to collect some items a little bit easier. And this tree here, this is using some redstone. This is something that I showed with how do we collect the cocoa beans. And we basically push a button and that will break off all the extra cocoa beans. Then we just go back and replant it. And the way this kind of system works is we use pistons to push blocks upwards. And then we're using some redstone to detect a block placement up above, hidden up in the top of the tree. And when it detects that block, it pushes all these junglewood blocks downwards again. So that's how we create this very fast upwards movement for the blocks and then pushing them back down. So I've been asked that on and off over the years quite a lot. It's a very simple setup and it's nice and clean looking. And when you can disguise the redstone up in the top of the tree like this, it looks pretty natural to me. I mean, it's pretty hard to tell that that's got any redstone in it. I think it looks somewhat like a natural tree there. So yeah, it's a nice little trick if you wanted to try out this kind of farming setup for yourself. Everything else here, yeah, pretty straightforward. We'll just ignore all these rabbits that are trying to escape. They always do escape. Over here, this is where we're just using dispensers to break off all the pumpkins. So just pushing the button here, we'll just push up all the dirt, and that's how we can do the collection. And I'm basically doing the same thing over there for the nether wart, and also for the mushrooms. So over here, this is where when we're pushing a button, it's pulling down these blocks, and that will break off all the mushrooms. So little details like that makes our life a little bit easier. But let's go down to the larger farm, because I am not just going to use hobby farms everywhere. I do like to use some larger farms where it makes sense. So down here, this is where we've got these farmers busy at work 24/7, always harvesting, always throwing things around. I've had a few revisions with this farming design over the years, and more recently because we've had some problems with the collection system. I've changed it out to be basically a simpler collection system, and it's almost too fast now, because if we come down and check these chests out, they're all full, and I'm always down here harvesting, well, not harvesting, but trading with this guy. Isn't that right? So we can get our nice emeralds in paying back some XP. So this is basically my main setup for how I repair my tools. If you didn't know that, I don't really have a fast XP repairing setup. You're my XP man at the moment. And all the emeralds are a nice byproduct, and this is all what we've got from trading. Every one of these is from trading, and I've already used a couple of stacks of these for different building projects. So you can see that I do get a lot of blocks for trading with this guy. That should be reflective in my stats. Where do you see emeralds? I don't know. Times used, picked up, maybe? Do you click emeralds? Where do you get emeralds? Anyway, when you went through my stats at the start there, hopefully you saw something in there around emeralds. That's how I get all my decent trades. And you might notice do have a couple of villagers just wandering around. That's because these are the villagers that were originally in the inside of this farm that were being used to help with the collection. But since I've changed the design, I haven't needed these guys anymore. So rather than take them out of their misery, I've just left them to stay out here and just roam around. So you got to defend for yourself, buddy. Now this is where things might get a little bit more confusing for you, because this is where I'm going to show you. I like to use different paths to move around to my world. I like to have basically underground paths, different hidden passages, and just different ways to navigate. These are all little things that make things interesting for me. Now, you might be wondering, where are we? And right above us, where this opens up here, is going to be right next to the Blacksmith building. So if we push this button, we'll just jump up into this water so I can show you. But this is just one avenue of how you can get out of here. You can go up this way, you can go down this way, there's a transition room in there. This takes us up to here. So this is where we have this Blacksmith building, and we can open and close this just using this button. Just looking for mobs, because my world is not mob proof. So yeah, got to be a little careful. So that's how you can go up and down, and if you're really adventurous, you could do things like that. So sometimes that will work out for you, sometimes it won't. So you can always try that out if you're downloading the world and wanting to move around, take a look at things. Over here, this is my note block setup. So might as well jump down and test it out, because it is night time now. And we should be having a tune that plays on the nighttime cycle and daytime cycle. So we can simulate that just by replacing a little bit of redstone here, quite sneakily. So like this. Wow, even single player gets lag sometimes. So that is the nighttime theme. We do have a morning theme, and I've tried to create this area to represent kind of like a nice snowy outlook. We do have, what do we have in here? We still have we still got one of these guys cruising around. And we do have a polar bear down here now. For whatever reason, this polar bear is obsessed with this block. He will always stay on this block. So yeah, you'll just have to enjoy that. For whatever reason, if I move him, he just will go back to that one block. So yeah, you'll have to stay there forever, I think. But moving on, let's come back down to this area. This will look familiar. Now you can get out this way as well. And this takes us to kind of like an underground cave system that I've just been working on. There's a broken mob farm here off to the right. I'll fix that in a future episode. I'm not going to bore you with the details currently. And if you're feeling like an adventurous splash, you can always jump down here. And this takes us down to this area, which is a natural cave system, which I've just added some extra detail over the years. And this is where we've got a vine room up in here. So this is where we can basically harvest our additional vines that we need when you want to create all the different mossy variants. This cave system does take us through to a few different paths that I've created around the world. We've got a few of these mob spawners around here as well. And there is a triple mob spawner setup, which you can use right around the corner here, which is interesting. It looks like we've got a zombie hanging out. Who are you talking to? No one? Just having some quiet time. Fair enough. Back here we have a skeleton spawner, and I could certainly make that more efficient. I haven't really used this farming setup for a while for XP. And then back here we have another zombie spawner and a skeleton spawner. So little details that can be put to better use, I think. The game has evolved, so I could certainly use this, but I have used it in the past. You can see I've collected a whole lot of goodies throughout the years here, which I don't really use anymore. But bones, got plenty of those. And, well, yeah, we've got arrows too. So, a whole lot of extra little supplies if I need them. And then over here, this is where we've got just another enchantment setup. The idea was when we were using this as an XP farm, we didn't have to go too far for enchanting. Yep, just don't worry about that guy. And then this was an original collection system for our mob spawner which looks like there is some mobs in there. So let's just move away from this area. I think this area is probably a little dangerous. Again, I do have multiple ways to get out of these paths. I've got ladders, different hidden passages, all these different things that, yeah, which I like, and may be confusing for you, but yeah, it's little details that I like to have. For example, there's another hidden exit or entrance, depending on your perspective, through there as well. So go download the world. I'll just keep reminding you if you want to try out all the different paths and little secrets I might have hidden around my world. Download the world and go exploring. Whoa! Yeah, so I do have mobs that can spawn in my world, and that was just an example of that. That's all that was, just an example. Learn from my mistakes. How about we'll just go with that. Over here, this is where we've got a building that has been hit with fire damage a couple of times from lightning strikes, but stupid me keeps building with wood. I don't know, I think it's just the era when I started playing the game. We mainly just had wood back in the day, so I use this a lot in my builds still. And yeah, you got to play with fire, so sometimes you got to repair damage. This is just a little bakery setup. We do have this angry zombie that you keep hearing. Now, for whatever reason, he is stuck right there. He will not move, but he is fully geared up with diamonds, so if he does ever escape, make sure you've got your running boots on, because you might have to outrun that zombie to survive. Over here, this is where we've got a few extra details. This is kind of like a building where I can craft banners. Over here is... Some people think it's a prison. Let's just go with a retreat for villagers. Maybe that's a better description. So it just started to storm on us, so I just got rid of that. But we're just talking about this place, and it's definitely a retreat. Look how happy that villager is over there. He doesn't look like a scientist or anything like that. There's no shenanigans going over there. I think it looks nice and on the up and up. We'll ignore the moat that's going around this place, but it looks like they're having fun over there. But if we keep on cruising over this direction, we have this path continuing. We have this building. Now this building I've changed a little bit just recently, switching out some fences. I originally had these nether brick fences used as windows, and now that we've got some different variances for the fences, I've just switched them out. This is the dark oak fence. Again, there's little details that maybe no one will notice except for me. But anyway, we do have our favourite cow, Mr. Moonshine. How you going, buddy? There is a bit of mystery around this guy. I have this slime block launcher thing here, and somehow, by a sheer miracle, a cow has walked into here, gone to this spot, walked over that, and then jumped up here. That's the only explanation that I have, because one day there was no cow in here, then the next day there was. So that's why I've named this cow. This is the kind of the gatekeeper. Thankfully he hasn't fallen back down. But yeah, pretty fortunate I have this guy up here. And up above here we do have a firework dispenser, so every night cycle we get a few fireworks that go off just to celebrate, I guess, the night that's about to dawn upon us. And I kind of use this area for just crafting firework rockets and just storing different dyes and whatnot. So that's really the main purpose for this building, except for the center section. So down through here doesn't really look like it, but this is where we allow beacon powers to come up through this stained glass and then up through here. And if we come down, I'll show you what I have directly underneath this building. So if you stand right here, push this button, you can fall on through. Hopefully there's no one... Oh, I've got a few visitors down here. But basically this is an area that I have this larger pyramid design, and I can control these different beacons using redstone. So if we come over here, I can flick all these different levers and they'll activate different beacon powers. And I can control whether or not I want this on during the day or not. So this one is like a day-night cycle. So before, when I had this switched, these beacon powers would only turn on at night time. But now I've switched it, they'll turn on in daytime. So if I want speed, let's just give us all the powers. Let's just give us everything. You'll see all these beacons light up. And this is all controlled by moving some blocks around just in this transition layer between the ceiling here and with the top of the tower where we're standing. And in fact, not every beacon is turning on. Why is that? Some troubleshooting is required. But you can get the idea. We can control all these different beacon powers just through moving these levers around. So, pretty handy. And again, there's a little bit of concealment for the redstone. So let's keep on cruising. We do have some more over this way, but one thing that I did forget about, which I'll just come back and show you guys, is just back through here. I do have one of these annoying guys that every now and then says hi. So Mr. Pufferfish is doing his job in there. We do have another house back there, just a residence, nothing really too much to look at. But down here, I don't think I've showed this. This is where we can craft, or not craft, but grow some of these 2-block height flowers. So just using a little bit of redstone. And we've got the slime block launcher to bring us in and out of this room. Little details like this I like to use. And we do have a similar kind of room over here. Won't go down there, but that is basically a dark room. And back in the day in Minecraft, we used to be able to basically harvest wheat, seeds of wheat, and get the flowers just from making a room dark. And it will just automatically break off grass blocks. So that's how we used to harvest flowers back in the day. Before we had all the pistons and other really redstone shenanigans that we've got available to us now, there was some primitive means of how we could collect things. So I have a few of those reminders throughout the world as well. This path takes us out this direction. Now you'll notice that things are starting to open up. Looks a little bit nicer out here. This is kind of like a more luxurious section of the island that we're starting to expand into. There's a nice home down there. It's more modern looking. We've got this chicken shop. It's bargain deals. It's free even. Look at this. No price. Just come and take it. And we get these cooked chicken. Now, it's not the most efficient setup. We do get some item loss, but let's face it. If you're playing single player, what are you going to do with all this food? You're never going to run out of food. And if you want some extra cooked chicken, if you've got some extra eggs, just throw it into the top. And then they will dispense out little chickens over here, and then they'll eventually grow up. And they get nice and fried for us, and then we get our cooked chicken. So, nice, yummy supplies of things over there. We can follow this path down. This takes us through to this another dock kind of area. This is where we have a much larger ship. Now, this ship design hopefully looks familiar to you, because this is based exactly off the foundations we have for the shipwrecks we have in the game now. So the skeleton of this is exactly the same layout as a shipwreck. Now, I have changed a few things while I've resurrected. Maybe this is what the shipwrecks used to look like, or the actual ship itself before they became a shipwreck. So this is my interpretation of all the extra details and nice little extra layout that we have. So yeah, maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but this is how I interpret what a ship could have looked like while it was in its prime. And we've got all things in these chests. This is like a little fun thing that I like to do. I am playing single player, but I kind of like the idea of just putting stuff in all different random chests, even if it's just for me to come along and find it one day when I'm either starving or looking for supplies, that I can just go, oh yeah, what did I put in this chest? Oh yeah, I've got some decent items in there. Now there is a lower section, and again there's more chests, more decent loot. There is another way to get out of here though, because you may notice, well, how do you get out of this lower section? We're not underwater where you used to be able to swim out of a room like this. You have to use a little bit of creativity. So when you open up this chest, you'll notice these blocks get pulled away with some redstone, and that's our ticket out of here. So get a little bit of a push, but you can swim out, and that's my little take on making this shipwreck, I guess, active again. It can cruise the open oceans, and I think it looks okay. Pretty happy with the way it turned out. So over here, this is where we've got kind of like a beach path area that takes us around this part of the island. I like this path design. We have got some interesting contrast now though with the newer textures, but I don't mind it. Before the textures updated, these were much closer, the sand and the sandstone and the end bricks and end stone, but now that we've got new textures, look at that contrast. It's pretty severe, but I think it still works to an extent, so I'm still okay with that. But let's cruise on over this way. We do have another merchant ship here, and we've got another shipwreck over here. This is all built by me. Again, none of this was none of this was after Update Aquatic, so all this stuff was built by me, including trying to make the oceans look like they weren't, from the Stone Age with just barren seabeds. You can see I've grown a whole lot of this seagrass in here, trying to make it look more alive. So I think that's turned out okay. Let's go down this direction of the island. I've got a lot I can expand into over here. We do have this magical tree. We'll just go and take a quick look at this. This is what I call I can remember what I used to call this. I think or like a willow tree, I think that's what I call this tree. But basically, this was to symbolize having some extra features with Update Aquatic. So there's fish in here. You can see it's nice and alive down in this water. And directly beneath this tree, we have a couple of little farms. So we can be sneaky and fall through this shulker box that takes us down to this room. This is where we've got this setup to harvest some seagrass. You can just go backwards and forwards in a minecart with shears, and you'll collect it that way. They'll come through into these chests. This is a little setup to harvest sea pickles. So you just pull a lever, and it will automatically grow and harvest sea pickles. You can see it's pretty fast. You get a whole bunch of sea pickles quite quickly here, and then they go automatically into this chest. So that's a nice setup. So I'll use that quite frequently. And this is just one of those micro kind of setups for growing the kelp. So it's not the fastest by any means, but just by having a small design like this is all I really needed for this home base. You can already see I've got full chest here, and then this is already starting to fill up. So little details. And makes, yeah, just basically gives you the supplies you need for an area like this. I will probably build a larger farm for some of those, but for now they are serving me quite nicely. Down this direction, this is kind of like an area that I'm growing into with the different building styles. Got a hole down here with some minecart tracks, so if you're feeling adventurous, you can jump into a minecart, press a button, and then go down, cruise along this minecart track. And then coming down this direction, this heads into some more open areas. I'm expanding down into here. We've got a lighthouse. We'll go over there in a minute. But let's go down this part of the island, because this is where things change style a little bit. You might not expect it, but we've got a crane here. Mixture of themes, I guess, we've got going on. And we've got this dig site. So I was a little frustrated that I've never found a fossil in my world. I know they're quite rare, and I see people finding them, but I've never found a fossil, even when I go into new biomes, unexplored areas. And yeah, just never found one, so I thought, you know what, let's just create our own. So that's exactly what I've done. So down here, this is my... Whoop, how you going, buddy? You want to look at... It's pretty ironic that we've got a skeleton looking after bones. We should eat something. But this is, yeah, this is mostly dug out to symbolize... Oh, it's a slime. For a second there, I totally thought that was a creeper, and I thought we were done for, because we hadn't quite healed up just yet. There is a slime down here somewhere, probably around the corner. No? Alright. Well, he's down here somewhere. But yeah, this was kind of a natural hole that we had here that was an odd shape. So I've just worked on that shape to make it look like an actual dig site, and then put in this makeshift larger skeleton structure. So I think it turned out okay. I'm pretty happy with the way it looks right down here. So yeah, little details like this, I like it. But if we fly out of here, we've got this kind of like deck area that I'll probably add something to at some point. That takes us through to this part. It's like an extension of the island, and this is where I'll need to put there used to be a witch. I did have I was going to say a pet witch, but it's a bit cruel to say that. Maybe just a named witch. And this was kind of their hangout place, but that witch is no more. No idea what happened to it. But this is kind of that island. I kind of feel like if you're ever going to build a brewing station or a place where you want to have some friends that are witches, this is going to be a good hangout for them. So I probably need to work on this a little bit more, polish it up a little bit. But this house here, you may not notice it at first glance, but it's actually made completely out of these dark oak trees. So you just grow all these dark oak trees close together, and then you can just kind of carve out the inside and make yourself a tree. So nice organic way of creating a friendly looking house design. So let's go past those zombies. We've got this, you can see we've got the crane there. Over this direction, this is where we've got ourselves a lighthouse. You can see it's functioning. At night time it turns on, starts glowing. And this is where we've got another part of our island that's got a much larger building here. I kind of call this a tavern. It's not really a tavern. It's probably one of those more half motels, hotels that you have down by old traditional docks. Some sleeping arrangements up above. If we can get a glimpse up there. Can't really see it, but there's a whole bunch of bunks basically up in there. And then there's a few floors. And then we've got this building. Oh. Isn't that a strange looking building? But it's not a building. It is a sailing boat or a pirate boat or whatever you might want to call this. I kind of see it as a something that's in between. Yes, I think it looks okay. Strange design. It's probably not something you would see, particularly for the sails. But it was, yeah, I made this a long time ago and I didn't really base it off anything. I just started building and spent a lot of time trying to get the look right. But I think it turned out okay. I've switched out some of the fences because back when I built this, we only had oak fences. And I put in some of these jungle fences. This is all jungle wood blocks or logs. So, yeah, trying to keep this updated a little bit. Got some parrots out here that are keeping charge of things. We do have a lower section. And this is where we've got all the extra storage. And it does have all these cannons all fired up, ready to go. So I've just got to press these buttons and that'll discharge some fireballs. So if we're ever under attack, we can always fight back. So little details like that I think are pretty cool. And then we have this pathway that comes around here. We've got this building. Totally didn't mean to fly just then, but coming down here we have another portal. This takes us through to the same nether hub that I mentioned earlier from the Blacksmith building. So we'll go in there in a minute. But this is another one of my main storage rooms. This is where I keep a whole lot of my supplies, and I use this area quite frequently as well. And we do have a lower section. Again, these are just little details that work well for me. This is where I'll do most of my brewing, and we've got an enchantment room set up in here, so extra details just makes things look a little bit nicer. And keeping with the theme of having multiple ways to move around in my world, I have hidden buttons and little devices where we can walk on through hidden walls and whatnot. And you might think there's something going on there, and that is correct. Because I can push that button, we can walk on through, and this would take us through to a cactus farm. So this is where I get a whole lot of cactuses pretty easily. It's a passive farm, I don't have to do anything. It will just magically collect and harvest all these cactuses pretty easily. There is a collection system underneath. Looks like the elevator's down the bottom there. Yeah, so I have an elevator to go up and down, and looks pretty good, and it works quite well. So to finish this main part of the tour for the island, what we're going to do is head out this direction. There's a couple extra buildings that we'll take a look at, and then we'll start looking at some outposts. So we have a tavern over here. This is kind of like a main entry point as you come into the core part of the island. You can come in and have a drink, tie up your donkey if you want. We have some extra horses and whatnot over here. We do have some stables down here. So this is something that was more of a recent build. We've got some decent horses here that I can use anytime that I want. Again, this is mostly for decoration, but little details like this. I don't know what, like a kind of like a horse carriage, but on the inside, this is I've got a chest in here, and I've put a whole extra lot of saddles in there just in case we need them. And this is a new building, so this is what I showed during the opening sequence of the world tour. It's all complete. It's got a interior on the inside, so I think it's pretty cool. Came out quite nice. It's got an interesting roof design. This is something that's a little bit more unique in terms of the block combinations for my world here. Just trying out different things with the dark prismarine stairs for the roof, and then mixing with the stripped wood and just the normal wood blocks as well. Getting some contrast of different colours. I think it turned out okay. And then directly underneath we have this setup. So this is kind of like a private stable, I think. Looks pretty good. And this horse I think is okay. It's pretty fast, isn't it? Yeah, it's not too bad. Well, let's continue on with this horse, because we can show you different parts of the world now. As soon as this horse doesn't want to keep going along crazy on me. Just over here we have a very angry man. Yes, you are angry, right? Yeah, every now and then he grunts, but this is my lumberjack. This is the guy that's out here chopping down wood, crafting different things out of wood blocks. I'll leave him be. He's kind of like he likes to be by himself. And then over here we have this little building. It's kind of like a fisherman's shack. There is a fisherman villager in here somewhere. Sometimes oh, there he is down there. He's just hanging out. So yeah, it's kind of like a dedicated building for him. And then we've got this bridge. This takes us over the river that we pointed out at the very start. This is something that I created, this river system. There's a little waterfall here. This takes us over to this area. So this is a desert village that I've created. It's not really modeled after anything. It was my interpretation of what I guess a revised desert village would look like. This is the main source of my villages. I do have some different transport systems to move these villages from this location over to the main island if I choose to do so. And it works quite well. These guys look pretty happy out here. They might be a bit exposed though, so every now and then I'll come out here and help the iron golems do a little bit of defense action. Generally okay, we've got a fence going all around this place. But I think it's okay, you can get a good look from over here. Now, you might be wondering what on earth is going on over in this direction. So this takes us through the desert here, and what we have is these little oases, little details. Over there is where I do most of my wood collection, so I've kind of planted all these trees over there, and that's where I chop down them and get my main source of wood blocks. But over here, this is where we have this interesting setup. So we've got this guy, you might be wondering what's he protecting or what's he defending? And there is a beacon, and we need to get over there, so we can't just get over there easily with a horse. But what we can do is just go along this direction, and there'll be a path here. There we go, this is the start of the path. We can follow this around. This is the kind of the wood chopping factory. This is where I get all my wood that I was mentioning before. But we can continue this path around, and then there is a broken bridge down here. Now it does make it difficult to cross over. But if we want to be sneaky, we should be able to just do this. Come on. This horse better be a jumper. Really? You're not even going to jump that? Okay, I should have picked a better horse, perhaps. Let's go up this way then. Now, can we get through this gap? No? There we go. All good. Alright, so here we go. We've got a path. Now, we're going to follow this path around. This takes us through the jungle. Now, this path did take a while to make. You wouldn't think it would. Adding in extra detail and trying to make a path that looks half okay, traversing different height levels and whatnot, is a harder job than you may think. This takes us through to an arena. This is kind of like a homage to a battle arena series that I have on my YouTube channel. And this is where we can fight it out, duke it out. Got some remnants here of some previous fights. So yeah, this is kind of like a nice area if you want to come out, hang out at night time. You will have some mobs to contend with, so if you're up for it, this can be a good spot for that. And then if we just look over here, got these paths that continue. Got a little house here with another horse. There is a villager in here somewhere. I can hear him. Yep, there's the villager. And we've got another sailing boat in here. This is kind of a bit more piratey themed. These are a little bit more geared up. Maybe these are warriors that are coming in for the show. And over here, let's just take a look. You might also notice we've got some more statues. And if you're feeling adventurous, you can come on through this way. Press this button. And then try your luck at getting your armor. Maybe there's some good stuff over there. This is... Whoops, we've got a visitor. So yeah, you can try and get over there. Yeah, just try it. Download the world. See how you get on. But there's some decent armor and stuff over there. But what we're going to do is we're going to speed up things because we've got a bit of ground to cover now. There is a path, so we're going to loosely follow the path. Comes out through the jungle here. And then continues on this way, underneath here. Now it takes us underneath a mountain range here, so this is kind of like a cunning use to cut through some land. And we'll keep on cruising this way. Hopefully we won't die in the process. That brings us out here. The path continues. Now we're going into some open areas. We've got a path that's coming out of the jungle, takes us through here, and then takes us through this area. This is a large, just a wheat farm area. I've always wanted to have just one of those rolling hills full of wheat, and this is how I've done it. I think it turned out okay, and we've got this raised up pathway, which is a little strange, I must admit, on first glance. But I think it works. I think it turned out okay. And then over here we have a watermill, and then a building attached to it. This is fully decked out. We've got everything completed on the inside, nice interior, some different building materials, and we do have a room underneath. This is where we've got the actual watermill component. Maybe it's crushing up different things here, and I've been storing wheat and whatnot. This is all stuff that I've just done on and off just to give a little bit of entertainment for me. Some of it's just themed around different things. It just gives us a bit of variety around the world. And I've put all stuff into here so it looks more alive. But if we just take a look at nighttime, let's see how it glows at nighttime. With all the different wheat around here. I could even probably expand it further this direction. But I kind of like how it transitions from this open area with a path into this area. And then in the backdrop we can see these larger towers, so we'll just cruise up here. This tower here is themed around my donators, so the people that kindly contribute just a little bit extra to my channel to keep things going. And we do have a phantom that's spying on us, but within this building I do have some dedicated blocks for those that have kindly donated to me, and there is the name and date stored around that block, so if you wanted to check out who's been contributing, you can always take a look. There is something I've been working on upstairs, but down here this is where we've got these dedicated blocks, so if you want to donate to me you might get a spot here, so thanks in advance if you're considering that, but you don't have to, there's no pressure at all. But over here we have this other building. This is just just a little detail. I like to have different themes, little ideas around what I could try out in my world. I don't want to have the same building styles for everything that I do, so I'd like to try out different things, and these two buildings is a little bit more unique for this area. So I like the area, and I think it suits it having basically crested on top of these mountains. I think it looks good. So we're just doing a flyby over the top of the island here again as we head out this direction, so we're going to keep going out east. Now there is some extra things I've built out here that we'll just cruise on past, and we'll take a closer look as something comes into view over here. What is this, you might wonder? Well, this is my take on an overgrown jungle tree. Now I created this ages ago, a long time ago. It's unbelievable how old this creation is. I have tinkered with it a little bit on and off. You might notice some of these houses in here have been reworked recently. This is... Was that chicken going up just then? That was a little strange. Maybe it was climbing a vine. But yeah, this is a little project that I really based the whole bunch of time. Before I figured out what I wanted to do in this world, this is one of the bigger projects that I just wanted to have a go at. I've always seen and heard of people building large trees, and I just wanted to know how hard it would be, and I must admit it is hard. This tree took ages to build. So much resources went into building this thing, and this is way back before we had any of the fun enchantments. In fact, I don't even think we even had enchanting back then when I built this thing. So yeah, it took a lot. It's but I think it's worth it. It looks okay. Now how it works is I've basically themed this around like a whole bunch of little... It's like a little community in here. There's some houses. We do have some villages still in here. It's amazing that they've survived all these years. Some of them are very old. If you even find a couple of them, some of them I've traded with, some of them I haven't. So look at this guy. Never traded with before. Still named villager, doesn't have a profession, still got a vanilla trade. This is way back in the day. And I don't plan to trade with that. Like this guy, cleric. I don't think you even get some of these trades anymore. I think these ones are all okay, although you can't get an ender pearl trade anymore in the game, so this is unique to this one villager. Who knows, maybe the village and pillage update will break that trade, but for now I've got this guy, and I can still trade with him. So we do have some villagers in here as they cruise around these different homes. Pretty sure it's mob proof, but I'm not 100% certain on that, so I try to always only ever come over here when it's daytime. I just don't want to risk it. It'd be a shame to have these villagers somehow get attacked. And I don't have that many over here, so yeah, I'm just planning to just leave them be. Hopefully they will survive on their own. And then if I want to do some historical trades, try out what they've got on offer, I can come over and check them out. So that is my large tree. This is something that was a project that was a core part of my time when creating this world. And I think the end result came out okay. But yeah, that's the large tree. Moving on, right next door, somewhere, we can try and find it, is over here. Now we should be able to see it. Yep, there's our fire. This is where we have... Now it was quite convenient. I didn't know this at the time when I built this world, or built this tree in this world, and set up my home base over there. But this is where we have a stronghold, directly beneath us. This takes us down to the portal. And it's quite convenient having it quite close to things. So we'll go into the end at some point in this world tour. But just to get your bearings, we've got this large tree here. The main island is right over this way. And we've got the stronghold right next door. So quite convenient having things quite close together. And I think that all brings the whole world and the build process here together. It's nice to have things all laid out quite nicely. So I think it's time that we find out what's on the other side of this nether portal. So let's go on through. Let's see if the coast is clear. And I'll show you some creations I have in the nether itself. This is the main nether hub. It's got a ghast apparently. So that was surprising, but this is one of my transition areas. So this is where I've got the 2 portals. This one takes us to the Blacksmith building. This one takes us down to one of the dock areas on the main island. This takes us out west. So where I mentioned that we have a mushroom island out west, that's out this direction. So we've got 2 choices. We can take this path, or if you're feeling adventurous, you can take this path. Just jump into this minecart and off you go on a pretty interesting journey. So we've got that direction to go out west, and out this direction, this takes us through to a couple of portals, and ocelots apparently. But this is where we have the large jungle tree that takes us through this way, if you go through that portal. And this is my interpretation of bringing the end into the nether. So I built all this. It kind of looks like a strange glitch where chunks are loading weirdly in the game, but I created these buildings to mimic exactly what the end looks like. And there was a good reason for that, because if we come down through this portal, this will actually take us through to the end itself. So why don't we do that first, and then we'll continue through the nether. So if you want to get into the end, come in through this portal. That takes us to here. Now we're directly at the stronghold, right next to the jungle tree. So right above us is that water source next to the jungle tree. And then this is where we have the stronghold portal. So just to show you where we are, there's the tree, here's the portal. Now we can take the lazy way, or let's not call it the lazy way, the safe way down the ladder, but we feel a little bit more adventurous, so you can come down this way if you want. This would take us down into the portal. And this is where I have done a little bit of building. So we do have, obviously, the killing arena here for the Ender Dragon, but I've created this pathway off the main platform that takes us up this way. And I have built a small project over here. I did want to try out different things. And we have here one of these airships. So this one's visiting. It's got some nice loot in it. So if you ever want some extra supplies, you can come on over and keep doing that. I can't remember when I built this. Yeah, you need to be a little bit better at parkour than what I am. But you can get in there, don't worry. You can jump there. I'm just failing because I'm an idiot. Let's try one more time. Okay, I am totally an idiot. I'm not going to do it more than that. But you can jump into there. There is some good loot inside this airship. And it's modelled off the same airship you can get the elytra in when you find one of these end cities. And over here, yeah, this is kind of like my interpretation of how we could create ourselves a chorus fruit farm. So there's no redstone here. This is just all manual effort, but laid it out nicely. And I think it works out okay. We have this top area. This is where you can get a whole lot of this chorus fruit quite easily. But if you mainly want the flowers, this is not the place to do it. The flower part of this design is directly beneath us. So yeah, this is just another one of those little tricks you can do in the game to try and get things to work a little bit nicer for you. Now you can get down through this way. And all you do is you run through and then chop off all these different flowers. And you'll get far more flowers than you need. So this is a nice little farm setup if you want some extra flowers quite quickly. You can use a little setup like that. So really happy with the way this turned out. And you may not notice it at first glance, but we have one of these down here as well. So my original idea was to build these kind of setups on all these little floating islands around this main central island. Just haven't had time to complete that. And I've always been a little concerned that if I ever want to fight the Ender Dragon again... Whoa. Okay, time to fly. Can I fly, please? I want to fly, please. Let me fly. Okay, how close was that? That was very close. So, yes, my concern was that the Ender Dragon was always going to be a problem and then destroy my creations, so I didn't really continue this too much more. But I plan to do that at some point. But let's try and get out of here in one piece. Good, the portal did load in. I was concerned that the portal wouldn't load and that would cause a problem. So let's get out of here and then continue on through the nether. So we're now back into the nether, and this is the portal that we just went through. Off to the side here, if you want a horse, I think it's pretty appropriate that we use skeleton horses to traverse around What are you trying to do? You're trying to knock me off? That we use these in the nether for transportation. I think that works okay. We've got this little transition area here. I do have some farming set up for nether wart. Let's see if you can see it here. Just down here we've got these fields of nether wart. I do have different patches of nether wart around the nether itself as well. I just think it adds a little bit of life to the area. It's a little bit plain if you don't have this kind of decoration. It's just all nether brick, hopefully, or nether rack. Like for example here, I've got all these fields of nether wart just growing freely. So if you ever need some extra nether wart, you know where to go. I do have a whole heap over here as well. Yeah, I just wanted to add more life to the nether. So without having the game do that for you, sometimes you've got to add the detail yourself. So, little details like that. But we're going to go back through this area. This is this little warp transition area into the end city that we have sitting in the nether. It is a little strange even for me when I see it. I think it came out quite well. But we have a path out here now. We're going north. This is the direction we're traveling now. So where I've travelled to really out of the nether to new lands is both north and west. I haven't gone south or east just yet. So perhaps in future updates that is the direction I'll go. But to speed up the process, we're going to fly. We're going to fly on through this tunnel. Obviously I made this for horse transportation, but we can go this way as well. It makes it a bit easier. Now you might notice there's something off to the side here. So this will be the first pit stop. Got this room. Now you might be wondering what is out this way. Now, hopefully these flower pots are a bit of a giveaway. This is going to take us through to a flower forest biome. And it took me a while to find this in my world. I still haven't found every biome in this world. For example, I still haven't found an ice spikes biome. Eventually I will. But this is one of the latecomers, finding a flower forest farm, or flower forest biome, so I can make my farms. So we have this portal here. This will take us through to this new area. And my idea with this, besides this angry zombie pigman and these strange arrows just sitting here, looks like some war was just going down. This was an area where I wanted to create myself some farms. I wanted the flowers, I wanted them in mass. So let's see if we can do a quick demonstration here. So let's craft ourselves, oh, not that. I need some bone meal. So all I need to do is throw in, let's just put in a little bit, put in some bone meal, and then with a bit of magic, anytime now, there we go. We've got a shifting floor design, and what this is doing is going to auto-harvest these flowers for us. So once this has all gone through, we'll go back to where it was, and then we've got all these flowers ready for collection, and that's it. I've got all these flowers stored up in these chests. And this is a nice area for getting all the different tulips, although I don't have many of the pink tulips, it looks like. And then if we can continue along this path, this takes us through to some other interesting areas. We've got this custom tree over there, which I really like. And if I didn't point it out, you may not notice it, but I do have a parrot. There we go, this grey looking parrot. I really like how it just blends in that area. I like just walking past and hearing the chirp of the parrot. It's just a nice relaxation sound. The path continues. It's a nice lush looking path. You can keep going out this way. You might start to see something more. We've got a building over here which we've created. This nice looking landscape. And we also have a little bit more. So we continue on. And what we have over here is a little bit more detail and decoration. So this is a different kind of looking building. I haven't built something like this before. I had a few different goes at creating something unique, and this is what I landed on. So up above here, this is some extra loot that we've collected from raiding end cities. I thought it would be appropriate to bring that over here and just deck out these guys. So they're all just chilling out. We do have multiple levels to this building, so if you can find a way to go up there, go check that out. And down here, this is just another flower farm setup. So again, this is an opportunity for us to get additional flowers. So the way it works is whenever you grow flowers in a biome like this, the actual flower that will grow on a particular block is fixed. It's not a random choice of a flower, it's the same flower that you'll always get. So when you find a flat area and then you test out by putting down bone meal, you'll eventually see the majority of the different flower types you get in certain areas. And so for over here, the majority of the flower types is these oxeye daisies. So that's why we get a whole lot of these flowers just here. Now we can just put down a little bit of bone meal onto this secret block. That's going into a hopper, pushing it into another one of these moving floor setups. It is a bit loud, so we'll just move away from that. But again, that's going to move backwards and forwards, and then that will allow us to collect some of those Oxeye daisy flowers. We do get a couple of other extra tulips. These are the pink ones as well. But yeah, you can see it's quite fast. You get a whole lot of flowers in a very quick session just there. And then right over here, this is something else that's a little bit more unique to this area. We have this kind of disguised pyramid setup. Now this does open up at night time. So we do have a beacon beam that will shoot up through this area at night. So what we'll do is we'll just wait for this to go to nighttime. So it's just gone nighttime, and you can see this pyramid has opened up. Perfect timing. We've got phantoms incoming. So let's jump on down. We do have this sneaky pyramid set up. So beacon beam for it. And this is another flower farm. So we can just throw in some bone meal into this chest. We'll just put a little bit in here. And this is the flower farm that will get mostly these two different types of flowers. I can never remember what these ones are called. What are they called? Alliums, I think, and then just the poppies. So these two variances we get here as well, and then some storage down here, and a little sneaky way to get out, which I have to remember how to open up. There we go. So that's this area. This is my flower farm setup. Really happy the way it looks. It's quite natural. Went for almost a fantasy theme in a way, where it kind of has custom trees and weird, strange looking bridges, and just the different flower farms. This is my main source of getting these extra flowers, and I think it turned out quite well. So let's head in back into the Nether and keep on traveling north. And now we've arrived at another transition room. Now hopefully it's a bit of a giveaway for what we have going on here. We have some guardians over here in this makeshift aquarium. You can't do much for water in the Nether, but this is what that's supposed to represent, an aquarium. We have a guardian up here just hanging out. We also have one down here for good measure. We have a guardian farm over here, so let's just go on through this direction up into this portal, and then on the other side of this we have ourselves a guardian farm. So I drained out a water monument, and not this direction, over here. This is a nice secluded area. We have this little island right next to it, which served me well for doing some little bit of farming, a bit of storage and whatnot while I was working on this guardian farm, which basically was recorded over 3 or 4 episodes, I think. Draining it out, using some flying slime mechanics, flying machines basically, to help with the draining process. And then I filled it in with water. You can see that this whole area here is just kind of like a giant fishbowl in a way. That's what it kind of represents. And we get a whole lot of guardians that spawn in here pretty quickly. And we also have this poor dolphin. You're going to have a bad time in there. But this is, yeah, basically my area for collecting guardians. So they'll basically swim around for a little while. Eventually they'll fall through some fence gates. And then they'll funnel through into a collection system. So let's just cruise on down. In fact, let's go this way. I can just swim down, but it's far more fun to fall down in style. So we can come over here and push this magic button. And if I can press it, there we go. We fall on down, and now we're into this area. So this is where we have our guardians being collected. I could easily convert this into an XP farm. For some reason, I never thought of that at the time. It's funny because I never really thought of XP as being a focus in the game, or certainly not for me. It was more about the items, the blocks, the building, the adventure. So yeah, these guys are just being sacrificed really, and I collect all their items, and I've got plenty of items stored up, plenty of blocks stored up. I basically come over here, collect some things, craft some things, and bring them back to the main island. So that's the main purpose. I could, yeah, maybe I will convert that, or have an option to convert that into an XP farm. You can see the spawn rates are pretty good, so it won't take too much to get a whole lot of XP if I really wanted to. And yeah, so we do get a few guardians still coming on through, because I still have the portals linked to bring guardians into the Nether. The idea was, before we had entity cramming in the game, you could bring them down into here, push this crushing mechanic, and then get them down to a couple of XP of, or HP of, basically health, and then I'll throw a potion at these guys, and then collect all the XP and all the goodies. So that's what I use this for. Now, more recently, I've started to go a little bit further north yet again. I've started to dig out a tunnel this way. This takes us all through to a coral kind of setup in warm oceans. So brand new biomes going out north. I need to continue the tunnel out that direction. I don't have too much build out there at the moment, so we won't continue out that way. But in future episodes, this is definitely one area that we're spending more time in. Just keeping going north and then doing some more construction, particularly underwater. I want to do perhaps an underwater base out there, so that'll look that'll be interesting. Looking forward to doing that. But what we're going to do now is head all the way back to the main nether hub. Then it's time to head out west. So we've now returned to the main nether hub, and there is an angry ghast up here somewhere. But let's not get distracted. We need to head out west, and we need to decide which minecart track do we take. Do we take this one, which, let's face it, looks pretty dodgy, or do we take this nice, structured, nice and linear looking track? You know what? Let's just take both. When you take this particular track, it will take you to this very old staging area that I used to use when farming for mobs in the nether. So right above me is kind of like a laid out area where we'll get a whole lot of these. Well, we've got some decent spawns already. These guys will spawn in. I'll just run around and kill them and then collect my wither skulls and other goodies. And yes, I need to basically work on this to make this a little bit nicer, a little bit more modern. This is a very old transition area. But the main thing that I need it for right now is to go into my mushroom island area. Let's just come on through this portal and we'll take a look. Because I went for a different theme. I've been building out in this biome, and this is where we got the mushrooms from. So when I brought them back to the main island, this is the actual boat that I used. I came out west, just on a boat. Just headed basically directly in a linear direction, got on a boat, started paddling, and it's mostly ocean all the way here. And that's how I stumbled across this mushroom island and brought back our beloved mushrooms. But this area here, we've got some interesting setups. We've got some large mushrooms here. These both have mushrooms growing at the top of the mushroom itself, so a little mushroom farm within the mushroom. A little strange, I know. And then we've got these two cube-looking farm things over here. Now, these are fully automated. This one creates and harvests melons. We'll get them nicely collected over here. So these will get our melon slices, craft these into melon blocks, and that's how I can get a whole lot of melons. Then on the other side, let's just fly on over. This is where we get our pumpkins. So this farm is fully automated as well. Whoops. And based on timing, it's using hoppers, other bits and redstone contraptions. Again, it's not the most fast or elegant solution for redstone, mainly for looks, and I went for just a unique kind of look and farm design. So I call this a cube design. I do have a tutorial for these on my YouTube channel if you want to have a go at building something like this. But I do like the look. I think it's it's a little bit unique. It's multi-layered. You could probably stack these higher up or make them longer if you really wanted to. But based on a little hopper timer, these things will get harvested, pistons get elevated, water will zigzag through these farms, and then they'll collect into the chest. I'm pretty sure I've got a whole lot of pumpkins stashed up. Yeah, I've got plenty of pumpkins on the go. So if I need some decent supplies, I can just head on over here. And I might continue with this theme of having these kind of oversized farms or oversized structures in here, just things that look bigger. Maybe that's a good area to continue that theme for the mushroom island. You'll have to let me know if that's a good idea or not. We do have just a makeshift kind of residential area here, just in case you want to just come down, hang out, chill out. But let's just go back into the Nether and then carry on. Now we arrive at this place. Now you might be wondering, again, what on earth is going on? Things just don't look right. This isn't the Nether. Again, this is my attempt at making the Nether a little bit more alive, a little bit more unique. And I thought, you know what? We should have some of these chorus fruits growing in the Nether, and I think it looks good. I think this is a nice combination. So, really happy with the way that's turned out. Now, over here, this takes us through to a little igloo village. So, it's not that well protected, so I do have to come over here during daylight. And I think it is daylight, just based on that little frame I think we got then as the world loaded in. So let's just stick our head out. Yep, the coast is clear. So how you going, villagers? Having fun out here? Hope so. This is a little igloo community that I created out here. Just wanted to do something different again. And how I started this off was pretty simple. You just come out, cure yourself one of the zombie villagers, and then just build a little house. And I just decided, well, rather than a house, I'll build some igloos, stick some doors on them, get 2 of these, start breeding, and then you'll create yourself a community. And these guys are thriving. Not protected though, so I do have some wolves over here, but unfortunately they don't do a lot to keep these guys safe. So these guys are kind of fending for themselves. So rule of thumb, just come over here during daylight and all is good. But these guys can roam around, hang out, have fun. I'm keen to see what this area looks like when these guys have the new villager skins that we're getting with the next major update to the game. So I think having these guys decked out with some warmer clothes just really fill out and make this area look a little bit nicer. So this area is pretty cool. It's all these igloos are themed after a particular build. So this one's kind of like a brewing setup. So little mad scientist might be living in there. I think this one's just a general quarters. Over here, I think this one is this a no. This is the farming one. So yep, all farming themed. Then I think we've got what's this one? Okay, this is obviously the miner igloo, and then we've got the enchantment one. Which one did I miss? Was it this one I missed? Oh. Okay, well, thanks for coming out. You looked a little sus leaving this guy in here by himself. But yeah, this is kind of like the rancher. This is taming all the animals and whatnot. We do have some cows over here. So if I'm desperate and I'm struggling to find some food throughout the icy plains here, I can always grab myself a little bit of beef. And now we're going to head into an area which I call my snowy village. So you'll start to see some things render in here. This is probably one of the more recent larger projects that I've been working on in the series. We've got this area just here, which I'll try and land on top of this tree. So we've got some ice paddocks. I don't know what you call these, ice farms, ice pens. Basically, these are little sections that I've carved out because I wanted to get some extra ice. Now that we've got more options with ice in the game, I thought it would be pretty cool to have dedicated areas where I can actually harvest ice. And these work pretty quickly. I can basically harvest ice from here and start to work all the way around. And then by the time I've collected everything and I come back to here again, this one's almost all full of ice again. So I can both make this look half decent and make it half functional. or half realistic for the players. So it's not just a block or some ugly looking farm design. I try to make it look nice, but also have it functional and practical. So that's what we've gone for. Got a few homes over here. These just checking out, chilling out. Maybe they're outcasts, who knows? And then over here we have what I call the actual snowy village. So we've got a number of buildings in here. Each of these are themed yet again. So I think the one out the front here is kind of like a fisherman's place. So on the inside we've got all fishing supplies. Got some fish in here, I think. And nice little details. This one's kind of like, got a bedroom up in here. And I've gone for this theme for this particular area as well. I wanted to make this look like it could be perhaps somewhat natural in the game. So yeah, little details. Got some polar bears. This is kind of like where a lumberjack might live and hang out. And yeah, all these buildings are themed. This one's where you can craft all different armor supplies. Hopefully it's pretty obvious for what I have in the item frames. This one is for key storage. So little details, but I think it has turned out quite nicely. Now that we're getting some extra blocks yet again, themed around villages and what they could do from a crafting and whatnot, I certainly want to incorporate some of those newer blocks into this village, so that will be coming up in the series. Over here will be probably a good spot for a bell, once we find out eventually what the bell will do in the game. We've got a watchtower or clock tower, both because we can walk or climb up this actual tower, then oversee the whole village, so that works quite nicely. This is kind of like an enchanter's building. Come in here and do all your enchants, nice little details. And what do we have? Some extra buildings. This one's mostly for sleeping arrangements, so we have some extra beds up the top here. And then down this end of the village, just as the sun starts to set, we've got this building here. This is where we've got pretty much like a blacksmith building, again, where we've got a whole bunch of furnaces. We could cook things up, take things from the mine. We do have one of the buildings down there that's kind of like takes us down to a mining area. This is kind of like where a gardener would live. There's a nice interior. I think it's nice. It's nice and colourful and bright. It's got an upstairs section dedicated for whoever would hang out here. So I think it looks pretty cool. And then just finally down this other end, this is kind of where we transition to like a farming setup, or where a farmer would live in this building. Got all these raised up farms. And yeah, just some hidden lighting here and there, because you don't really see torches. Again, this is something that I try and do for most of my outposts, is limit the use of torches. So that creates an interesting challenge, because you can see that this whole area here it doesn't look that dark. And that's because we've got hidden lighting everywhere. So that's really the only way that I can light up this area and it doesn't look too weird. And the way that I make sure that when I've got lighting everywhere, that we don't just melt off all the snow. A lot of these blocks are actually snow blocks. They are not having snow layers on them. I replaced this whole landmass here where this village is situated with the snow blocks. So then if it actually melts, if we have snow layers on top, get out of here, buddy, then we won't see the exposed dirt or grass underneath. Really? You're going to keep bugging me? Or maybe that's time for me to leave? Let's just take a quick flyby above here so you can see what it looks like at night time, because I think this village looks pretty awesome at night time. I'm a little biased, I know, but this is what it looks like. Hey, that phantom came in hot just then. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this part of my world. And I put a lot of time and effort into this village area, and I'm pretty happy with the result. So hopefully you guys like it as well. So that pretty much wraps up the world tour. Hopefully you found it interesting. Maybe there's a few building ideas or contraptions you can incorporate into your own world. If you'd like to have a closer look at the world, there will be an updated download link in the video description. If you're going to download it, I suggest you go for a bit of a wander. You might find a few more surprises, like where we're standing right now. I haven't showed this in the world tour, so you'll have to try and find this place. I haven't had time to show you everything in my world, so there is more to offer. So a little bit of mystery there. You can go for a bit of an exploration. Otherwise, you might see different areas of my world in future episodes, so you can stick around for that. Thanks for watching. I'm going to end the video here. Stay awesome, and I'll see you guys very soon in a future episode. Cheers.